is Sarfaraz, and you're tuned into the first episode of Thinking Hat. In this series, we'll critically examine some of the prevalent thoughts, ideas, and social norms to gain more insights into our everyday living. As the elections of five states are around the corner, television channels and news portals are belting out daily shows based on opinion polls. Are these opinion polls any good? It turns out not so much. Why do I say that? Let's dive into the details. For this episode, I have randomly picked opinion poll data published for three states that had elections recently. All three opinion polls or surveys were conducted by Sea Voter for the states of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Karnataka. Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand went to polls in 2022 and Karnataka earlier this year in 2023. All three states have different voter demographics, population, and number of assembly seats. Uttar Pradesh is a very large state with 403 assembly seats. In comparison, Uttarakhand is a small state with only 68 assembly seats, and Karnataka, relatively moderate in size, it has 224 assembly seats. Now, why did I choose Sea Voter survey results? First of all, Sea Voter conducts and publishes opinion polls regularly throughout India. It has been in the business for 30 years. Secondly, Sea Voter data is readily available for reference through AVP's online portal. And finally, it appears to be one of the most talked about surveys. Opinion polling is not an exact science. It is a field of social research that depends a lot not only on the analysts and field researchers conducting surveys and collecting data, but also on how respondents answer the questions that are posed to them. Suffice to say, work of a pollster is an art as much as it's a science. For the purpose of our analysis, we'll look at margin of error and confidence interval that Sea Voter publishes with its opinion polls, but of course in the disclaimer section. According to Sea Voter's own admission, their margin of error is plus or minus 3% at the macro level and plus or minus 5% at macro level. Data is published with a 95% of confidence interval when it comes to seat predictions. What does that mean for the viewer or a reader? It means that the vote swing for a single party should not be greater than plus or minus 3%. At an aggregate level, it should not be greater than plus or minus 5%. And the seats predicted should not have a difference of more than 5%. That means if Sea Voter has forecasted 100 assembly seats, its prediction should be accurate for at least 95 seats. Before we move on, if you'd like to know the nitty-gritties of an opinion poll in more detail, I would recommend watching a conversation between Yogendra Yadav and Dr. Vasu on the art of conducting election surveys. Link is in the description. Yogendra Yadav is an ex-psephologist and Dr. Vasu is with eDina, a Kannada news portal that forecasted the Karnataka election outcome exactly right. Let's look at Uttarakhand first. It's a small state and small margin of error can cause huge variations. Sea Voter called it a close fight in its opinion polls between Congress and the incumbent BJP that had been ruling the state for 5 years. The results turned out to be very different though. BJP received a vote share of 44.3% and Indian National Congress received a vote share of 37.9%. This leads to 6.4% of actual vote share difference as opposed to 2% that was initially predicted. It gave a huge advantage to AAP, a newcomer in Uttarakhand state elections. 13% vote share was attributed to AAP compared to 3.3% vote share it actually received, and others received 14.5% vote share, far more than initially anticipated. Now, as you can see from the charts, at the micro level, it was way off the mark of its plus or minus 3% accuracy. In the case of AAP, actual vote share received during election was 9.7% below the prediction and 10.7% more in the case of others. At a macro level, the vote share difference turned out to be 12.3% instead of 5% as claimed by C voter. How these vote shares are translated into seats is an area surveying agency know better. What we know though is C voters' predictions were incorrect. BJP won a total of 47 seats, 14 more than 33 that C voter had forecasted, leading to an error percentage of 22.06, well beyond the limits of 95% that it mentions it in its disclaimers. I must also underline the fact that we have considered median values, wherever a range of seats was provided. Now let's look at Uttar Pradesh. How did C voter fare in comparison to its predictions versus its claimed margin of error and confidence interval? The top contenders in this election were BJP and SP alliances. C voter claimed BJP was ahead in the UP assembly elections, which it of course was, looking at the results. However, the results reflected another anomaly. It gave SP plus 20 more seats than it actually won. BSP had 16 more seats and Congress 4 more than what they actually won. If you look at the vote percentages, these are well within the margin of error for major players BJP plus, SP plus and BSP. However, C vote survey could not predict the vote share accurately for INC or others. The margin of error was greater than 4% in those cases. At a macro level, this became a difference of 6%. Ultimately, BJP plus won 42 seats more than what was predicted. And the error in seat predictions was 10.42%, way more than compared to 5%, way more than compared to 95% of confidence interval. In the state of Karnataka, the seat prediction was again way off the mark as Congress won 135 seats in comparison to 118. C voter had predicted a Congress win with a wafer thin margin. However, it turned out to be a landslide victory for Congress. BJP was relegated to 66 seats and JDS won only 19 seats, 6 less than what was predicted for them. C voters survey gave a vote percentage of 17%, far more than 13.29% that was actually received by JDS. Here is a summary of incorrect seat predictions by C voters for Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. In all three states that we studied, seats predicted by C voter were well beyond the 95% confidence interval mark, and it's sufficient to create doubts about the accuracy and efficacy of opinion polls. Do let us know what do you think about this episode in the comment section, and what would you like to be discussed in the coming episodes. I am your host Safraz, signing off for now. Until next time, take care and goodbye.